Hello, my name is Richard Curtis, and this is my napkin and Play-Doh assignment. Start you out first with my central image. Came across is the idea was Sisyphus, because the base of what I'm going with this show is the eternal struggle that Mr. Zero faces. He's basically destined to repeat the same tasks over and over and over again for eternity. So when I hit my aha moment, Sisyphus came to mind. The Greek tale of he forced to push a boulder uphill, and every time he gets right to the top, it rolls back down. He has to repeat the process for eternity. So that's my central image. I might as well go ahead and say now the key themes that I'm rolling with this show is it deals a lot with mental disorder, like a key depression caused by oppression, because basically the type of life that you live and the work you live, work can be a mean of escapism. A lot of people, like, if they live an unhappy life, they escape to the job, and you get to feel that that's what Mr. Zero has done, the way his wife talks to him in his marital life. But at the same time, the question remains, and I'm still dealing with this question: has the work led to his lack of social skills, or has his life led to his depression and his work? So I'm not sure. I'll move next to my renderings. I had napkin renderings, but they got destroyed the other day, so I did some quick sketches. The first one that I worked with was kind of like a static set. The tunnel scene, obviously, for the end, to have light coming through, steps to get up to a platform, and I was toying around with almost like a kind of like a juror's box backdrop. I mean, this is about a 4x8 platform for acting space, and then the rest would be downstage. But then I was like, well, what other symbols work with oppression? And since we're dealing with expressionism, I was like, a large boulder and a little boulder forcing each other, kind of maybe a backdrop, maybe a painting to put on the back of this. And then the Sisyphus idea came in. So I was like, well, stationary set, tunnel scene, which would also be blocked off with the graveyard in front. So when the light comes back, it would light up the graveyard from behind and give a nice look. Alternate acting spaces, easily accessible, like say the courtroom scene would take place on this platform, the bedroom scene here, lined up the chairs on the side for in the apartment. More acting space up top with like a frame built with a Sisyphus statue rolling the boulder. The imagery alone would tell, but then it was like, should I do that like a cutout or a three-dimensional object or a painting? So I tried to get these really, really quick. And then I had the idea of maybe like a large 4x8 acting space and a massive cutout frame of a body in the back, that very oppressive looking. And finally I came with this idea. So static set, various acting places around the tunnel scene for the end to give that effect with the light coming through, plenty of acting space. This would have changed to like an 8x8 acting space, and these would be 4x8s, and obviously stairs to access. Then a large back with the imagery of Sisyphus on the top. To give a better idea, I did a quick rendering of just a really quick to scale plan, like the tunnel scene going completely through both separate acting spaces with ladder access to the back up, so that way if they're in here acting and say movements goes around, he could access up, like say he's laying in the bed and then she's down here talking to him, and then the stairs that go up to the main platform, and then, well, you can't see from overhead, but the other piece would be coming up. And then that brings me to my Play-Doh part. And where I'm in the shop, I have access to, some gels and flashlights and whatnot. So I tried to amp it up a little bit for visual presentation. But I did a quick rendering to give you an idea of the platforms on both sides, the main platform in the back. And looking at the Play-Doh project gave me a much better idea that instead of like a flat cutout, to do a three-dimensional, like carve it out of foam perhaps, instead of the huge backdrop swinging down and then the piece on top. Like, I mean, that the lighting alone, the way it captures the mood and the feel, and the blue gel. My idea for the design of the show takes away color, because to me, what I'm seeing and feeling is black and grays promotes the feeling of depression, and this play deals a lot with depression, whereas the stark lighting coming down gives a very oppressive feel. And the way it's laid out with a lot of the shadow work coming around, it's more about what you don't see. Because, like, say the jurors are here and he's up on this platform and he's going through the scene and the lights like illuminating the front of his face and he's talking out, and then you barely see the jurors, like maybe up in the shadows or down in the shadows, and you barely see them moving, but you know they're there. But the focus is on Mr. Zero himself. It's still a little not fully realized or determined, but I'm really aiming towards this style. I love the way the light plays on the Sisyphus character. Obviously, the clay is a little bumpety and not as clean as I would prefer it to be, but I get the general feel and the mood. The biggest thing is the mood that it creates, and it gives a very oppressive, depressive feel. The reason that I wanted a simple set with stationary static set with separate acting areas and elevations is the shapes take away emotion to me. Psychologically speaking, if it was beautiful, like rounded corners and immaculate trim and colors and bright shapes and forms, that denotes emotion. The only emotion that I want to put into this would be like symbols through the tunnel, like the light, small snippets of color, maybe cyc lighting across the back, kind of like the Aurora Borealis for the Elysium Fields. To me, color would be emotion of small, brief moments and lapses of joy and happiness. And that is my project. Thank you very much.